Welcome back to the Warrior pregame show. Coach Lambert has joined me for our sit-down conversation before the Peru State Bobcats and the Warriors get it on. I think we talked about this some on Thursday night, that you never look at records of one of your opponents, and this team coming in is 0-3, but it's probably one of the best 0-3 teams on paper that you'll see coming to Sterling.
Yeah, and we're just dealing with them on video and how they played and who they have and how our schemes and people match up against them. So we just don't waste time in that process of speculating how a record might play itself out. And they're a very good football team. They're going to block and tackle, and they're going to play physical and not make mistakes. And certainly we would anticipate nothing less than their best effort and their best game when they come down here. Today.
And the leader of that team, we saw him a year ago, a very smart veteran quarterback. Curtis Thompson's his name, a big 6'2", over 200-pound quarterback, senior. He's a throw-first quarterback, but that's deceiving. He uses his feet. You're not going to see much yardage from him in the running game, but he uses his feet and his movement so well to get himself away from pressure and outside of the pocket, and he's very, very good at throwing the football on the move.
Mm-hmm. And they want to set their system up, to move him and have him throw on the move, on the run, on sprint outs and bootleg and play action kind of things. And they do a super job of fitting his skill and talent with the play calling.
And one thing coming out of last week's game was tackling in the second half. I know you weren't as happy with the tackling in the second half as you were in the first half, especially on Michael Kopic. And if people that went to or listened to the game last year, Peru State really came straight at you with big bruising backs. Well, those guys no longer there. They bring in a couple freshmen and a sophomore in their backfield this year. So tackling with these more elusive backs against will be one of those places you need to see a lot of improvement.
Yeah, and I don't think we talked about that last week in our radio show. We talked about the backs from Southwestern being good, and particularly number one, but we didn't talk about our inability to tackle. And so, whatever combination of a good back who's hard to tackle, and then our lack of conscious sort of focus to wrap and tackle on collision always makes a back better if you don't tackle well. And we've got to clean that up this week and chucking the guys out. We're confident that they're going to have a much better day tackling today. We start every Saturday morning team session before games with blocking and tackling. And the team that most of the time blocks and tackles the best, the longest, is going to win that game. And we need to do a much better job of that today with our defenders tackling their run backs.
Staying on the defensive side of the ball, it's no surprise, again, a couple of 6'3" wide receivers coming in. Edelman averaging almost 18 yards a catch, and Gotchula almost 21. This year, you've got a couple of bigger defensive backs with Corey Dunbar moving back. He's 5'10", 5'11", and then Tate Arnold had to play some linebacker last year due to injury. He's back at that strong safety, which really fits him at 6'2". Does having those bigger defensive backs in the backfield this year help you match up better against some of these big receivers that other teams will bring in?
Certainly that would be the plan. And Mike, I think, plays bigger.
Yes.
He plays taller than he is. He can get off the ground so fast and high, and he's pretty long for his height. I don't use these opportunities to brag. I don't want to ever cross the line on sort of promoting our team in ways that I might think would be inappropriate. And sometimes, though, I think I don't do a good enough job of talking about particular positions or people. And I would just say that our secondary, we really like our secondary. And at least on paper and for a 4-week pre-camp or pre-season in a first game, they have performed at levels that we are very pleased with. And not that they can't get better, not that they're not going to have to do that against a lot better people, than possibly we saw in the first game. But we like them a lot, and so we're confident in them, and there are going to be particular receivers that we see throughout the year that are going to be very dangerous and a bit scary, if that's a word a football coach can use. But we're not going to see a crew of receivers that we don't think we can't have a plan against and cover them consistently for a whole game. Now, me saying that and us believing that doesn't make it happen, but I do want to just give those guys, I think, proper credit with the four and play a third corner as well, Robbie Hernandez, and so we like them a lot, and Chuck has been exceptionally pleased with their progress for these last 5 and now 6 weeks with this past week's practice.
Offensively last week, you took advantage of some of the field position you had. I'm sure you as a staff would like to see more consistency out of your offense. You played both quarterbacks last week, Keoki Burbank and Joey Garcia, kind of in a platoon role. Evaluate how you felt that went last week, and will we see that today?
We thought it went okay. It went as like we had expected, and we are going to do it again this week. And we're just sort of hoping or waiting to see if one of those guys will play out beyond the other guy. They both. Keoki had an interception going in that hurt us. Quite frankly, that would have helped kind of put the game in a different sort of range. We don't get any points out of that, and then certainly in the fourth, Joey put that ball on the ground, and it was. We were going to take a loss on the play because that was a problem up front, but he has to be able to recognize what kind of part of the game we're in, and the significance of just punting, being up, the way that we were, and playing defense and fighting, living to fight another day. And he didn't do a good job. Then he put the ball on the ground in the fourth in a critical situation on that pitch. And so both of those guys, made a bit of a critical mistake in a really kind of tough spot. So anyway, outside of that, though, I think both of them played within themselves very well, and I think that you probably would have seen that. And, you're closer than most fans to the situation, and even sometimes off the air as we talk about guys. I think Joey played and ran the stuff that we needed and wanted him to run, and I think Keoki was, did a really nice job with the stuff that we want him to do. And so the offenses were similar with either one of them in, but they're going to be distinct. So you take sort of those kind of major mistakes that each one of them had, and you take their play as a whole. We were satisfied with the play of our quarterbacks without the major turnovers.
Well, Coach, good luck on the game today, and we'll look forward to your evaluation of this one here in just about 3.5 hours when we talk again.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Coach. Coach Andy Lambert, his comments on the Peru State Bobcats, the non-conference opponent, here in just a few short minutes. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we'll have the starting lineups as the Warrior pregame show continues on HK FM.